Well, welcome back to our Jaguar project. The last update I did on my Jaguar, I was showing you what was involved in straightening the frame and the frame measurements and how all that works. Well, now that I know that I have my steering components in the exact location that they need to be, my bonnet still has a little bit of settling in the front of it. I'm touching a little bit right here. I've got a little bit of clearance right here. That kind of tells me I need to come up just a little bit. Well, some of that could be in where this bonnet structure has been out of it. So there's nothing but sheet metal here. There's no structure inside of it. It's set like that for years. So it may have settled a little bit, and I can kind of work that back up into it. But what I'm going to do now, or what I've already done, is I have put my shims in my adjustment for my front pivot for my bonnet in the sweet spot right in the middle of the adjustment. Then I'm going to take and lower this body down. You can see it's actually hanging on this dolly I've got right here. So I'm going to put the stands under it where the wheels and the suspension would be pushing up on the frame system. If that gets me up to where I need to be, then I can finish gluing my structure into my bonnet. But if it doesn't, I've got one more chance, and that is to put all the weight on it just like it'd be sitting on the suspension. Then I'm going to loosen this structure on the firewall and put a little tension on it to see if I can't get just a little bit more out of it, because it's going to want to go that way anyway when you get the way the motor, the transmission, and everything in it and going down the road. So if I can get a little bit out of it there, then that tells me I've got all of it out I can get, and then I'll just work on massaging this bonnet in. Even though this is touching right here and it's not touching here, I've got a decent gap right here, so I can actually raise this by changing the crown of this. And so that's where I'm headed. I will give you another update as I proceed a little further. So I'm fixing to set this up on my stands, and I'll show you what I'm doing when I get to that point. I just wanted to show you one quick little update here. I hadn't started on loosening and moving that center structure yet. Just by putting the weight on this thing where the car is going to ride, I've lowered this down, so I've got weight right there. I've got weight right in the center where my axle is. This thing has come within just a few millimeters. I'm actually not touching there now. So that shows you how you really got to think ahead and make dang sure this car is sitting like it is, because if I had locked this bonnet down and glued it in place the way it was before, then I would have trapped myself. So I'm going to get everything out of it I can get out of it, and then actually gluing these structure back in this bonnet. Well, I say glue, but I mean bonding. It's a bonding adhesive. Before I do that, I'm going to make sure I've got everything else in place and where it needs to be. So, all right, well, let me get back at this, and I will loosen this up and pull this up and see what we've got. All right, I've raised my bonnet up here so I can give you a closer look at what I'm talking about as far as bonding in these structure pieces and loosening these bonnet bolts. You'll see right in here, you can see all these that go around here. I'm going to loosen all of these up. You can see in here my bonnet support beams that go up through there. Those will actually be bonded in place once I get the final bit of slack out of this. I will probably push up and support right in this area, probably along the middle, and then probably a little on the other side. And then once I get all this supported up the best I can, I will secure all these back down real nice and tight for the very last time. Then I'll let my bonnet back down, and then I'll come in here and maybe put some wedges in here if I need to wedge this up just a little bit more. And then once I get all these and all these other ones and all those up with wedges and locked in where I want them, then I'll insert glue back in there, a bonding adhesive, and it won't be solid at that point because I won't be able to get to all that. Then after that sets up and cures, that'll hold it in place. Then I can raise it up, and then I can actually finish the bonding all the way down all these, and the bonnet should be in good shape. So I'm gonna get back at it. All right, I've got all that subframe retightened now. When I was tightening up that subframe, you know, I've already got the weight of the car where the suspension goes to give it all the support it needed, and kept holding the position that it'll be in when it's driving down the road. Then I also set on it up here myself and put my weight on it and started tightening it from the top, and then the top, and then the bottom, and then the bottom. So I've got that inner structure tightened down really tight now. But in doing so, I gained another millimeter or so. So when I first started, this was just all the way down. And then by just putting the weight on, loosening it, putting the weight on the car, I gained a little bit. Then by me adding some weight on it and tightening it all down, I gained a little bit more. Now I've got my jack in here, and I'm going to kind of use that jack and crank up at the push-up points in this, the stiffening points, and I I'll loosen all the bonnet first, the bolts that are inside here, and then put that tension on there and then tighten all them down where they need to be. And one good thing is these bolt heads and washers were painted the color of the inside of the bonnet when this thing was original, so that's my benefit now, because once I cinch them down, that'll be it. They'll be in their place and I can paint all that. And then when I get that bit tight and that amount out of it, then I'll work on raising the structure where all the pieces are bonded in this area. And then you can see where I pulled all the way from the bottom and kept pulling, locking this stuff down. Then I'll glue it in place, and once I get it glued to the support bars inside there, then I'll start making this stuff right here. Give me one more bit of movement I can do right here. So let me get back at it, and I'll give you another update later. Now, after I did all the securing, like I showed you before, where I'd loosen all the bolts and I'd put my jacks under there in the positions I need to push up and stress this thing a little bit. You've seen me stress on the frame, putting pressure on the way the car would be with the weight on the vehicle and it going down the road. I've done the same on every nut, every bolt, every bit of it. Once I got all that tension up on there, I went ahead and locked down every bolt. I lined every washer the way I want it to be when I go to do my paint work, because these bolts heads were painted when this car was original, which is a big benefit for me. And then after doing all that, you can see now that I have about a 5mm gap all the way down through there, right on the money. I've done no chopping, I've done no welding, no modification anyway. Knowing that this is a factory car and it's built that way, then it gives me the confidence to be able to know I can find these numbers. Now, if this was a one-off custom I was building, then yeah, I may have went in there and chopped and cut and moved and just put this thing anywhere I want to put it. But I knew these numbers were in here and I knew I could find them. So you can see how nice this is done just from taking the slack out of it. And in being so too, when I get all this weight on this car and it finished and it does any settling, there should be no settling left because I've done taken all that out of it. Now, I was going to come in here and cut this out and put me a piece of metal in here. This is not a blind panel on the inside, so you do see the inside of this panel, which is going to make that a little more difficult. It has a roll in it right down here in the bottom with a piece of wire. Back in the day, they would actually have a piece of about an 1/8 inch rod inside this corner, and these rolls all the way around these. Ford, Chevys, Jaguars, they all did it. And they rolled that around that piece of metal to give you that roundness. And there's one right down through here. Well, that's going to make it extremely difficult to come back in here and put this piece of metal in. On the other side, I have damage as well. So went to try to find these fenders. They were about $1,800, $1,900, big, about $2,000 a piece. Time I buy these two fenders. Well, looking at $2,000 a piece, that tells me that it may be worth putting the time in this, because the rest of this fender is in pretty good shape. It's got a few little knickknacks. Well, let me show you on the other side. Now, on this side, this car had been hit right here, which made me have to do the framework that I had to do underneath, which was so time consuming to get the frame back where I needed to do to get all this back in its place. Well, in doing so, this was smashed in right here. The end of it's gone a little bit right up in here somewhere. So it has actually stretched this metal. Well, I didn't do this work. Somebody had already knocked this out. I did a little bit of shrinkage on it because I know now that it's pushed in, there is so much metal in there where it's been stretched in. Now it's kind of popped. Now I've got it out. There's too much metal, so it's putting stress out this way. So it's going to make it a little weaker here. It's going to make it a little weaker here. Well, you can see it's really turned this in right here. This is in about a 1/2 inch right there from where this is all bulged out so much. Also, it's not a blind panel, so the inside of this has got to be as slick as the outside of this. Well, at my $1,800 price range for these two fenders, or wings, is what they call them, and the time it's going to take to get them, I was debating on fixing this. Well, I did a little more research and found the company that the first company gets them from, and I'm able to buy the same exact fenders in 4 to 6 weeks for $1,000 a piece, right at $1,000 a piece. So that changes all my calculations quite a bit. So $1,000, I can buy one that's already straight and nice, and I can custom install this new fender to even help enhance my fit right here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to order those two wings and install them in here. Then I'll have brand new sheet metal on the outside, brand new sheet metal on the inside. It's going to take care of the end of this. I'm going to go ahead and put one on the other side to fix that piece. Then I'll have two fenders I might be able to take and put on eBay, clean them up since they're already blasted, primed, and ready, and sell them on eBay and even come out a little more ahead of the game. So I'll put in my call to, I think I got it from SNG, and they should be here in a few weeks. So I won't take these off until I get my new fenders here, and so I can see exactly what I need to do, because I know the inner structures does not come in them. I'm only getting the outer sheet metal piece. And once I get my new ones here and compare them to these, then I will make sure this bonnet's in its exact location, and I will pull this one off, and I'll put one on, and I'll pull the other one off, put it on, lock it all down, and then start gluing this all in place, and I'll show you how I do all that as I go along. So, that's what I'm going to do on the Jaguar. I'm fixing to do a little update to show you how to build a custom dash on a 67 Chevelle. That'll be my next week's video, so stay tuned for that.